who has a 100-word summary of all the trouble you guys got into last week?
We decided to go back into the tutorial sewer level.
It'd be easier if I could see the sewer. Yes, thank you.
We took a...
So this is an invisible door. Invisible trapdoor. There's an invisible trapdoor over here. There's another one over here.
Yeah.
There's a significant number.
I got a +1 saber. That you decided was a scimitar, do you believe?
Sure.
Yeah.
A cutlass, but whatever.
Cutlass, yeah.
We'll use the stats of a scimitar, because the scimitar can be used as a finesse weapon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's a +1, so it's a cut more.
No. That's,
okay. Anyway, moving on.
What?
We went to the north end of the sewers, but we didn't cross the bridge. We found that judge guy who was naked and washing his clothes. And then we decided to walk away from that, and we came over here, and there was this man here. I think you just described him as wearing a hat.
And a pipe. He had a wide-brimmed hat and a long pipe.
Yep. And then he had hostages up here, here, and here.
I like how
hostages
you said
are dead.
had hostages.
Yeah.
Like past tense.
I solved that problem.
He no longer has the hostages.
Right. The survivors.
Through various means.
Now,
Listen.
I do have good news for you. Because last night, in my Saturday game, they also murdered a small child. They felt they had to do it. So I'm starting to think it's just me. Like, I'm the common denominator here.
I think, yeah, no, it's absolutely you, Brickroad.
I don't know what you're talking about. That child's on a farm somewhere.
that's where, yeah, that's where they all go.
They're all on a farm with Adric and Serenity.
Oh, sorry.
What are you sorry for? You're the one who kicked off that combat and rushed him.
Because that wasn't gonna end. Like there was totally a way to do that without tragedy.
It was written in the rules, actually. If Lucius calls the guy pretty, everyone goes free forever.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I like Nodal pointed out last time. I feel like we let the bad guys like monologue too much, and I don't think that. I don't know.
You're supposed to.
I like it.
If the bad guys don't monologue, who do I get to roleplay?
You get to.
There's a brown ooze surrounding the floor and the ceiling of the room. It jiggles at you enticingly.
I want to run a campaign now where I've secretly set a secret word to say, and the moment one of the players says the secret word, the whole world turns upside down.
So you want to like run Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yes.
The secret word is Pee-wee.
I don't care that guy jerked off in a movie theater. That was good, wholesome entertainment for children.
I have a question, Brickroad.
About
I
Pee-wee's
seem to remember we searched this whole thing, right? Because I went back there with like detect magic and shit.
Yes, sir.
Okay, got it. Just making sure.
The pink squares all led down into oubliettes. One of them had some magic stuff in it in a waterlogged box.
Yep.
And then you guys had gone back to... So the three people you rescued.
Yes.
The Gitzarai, a Mosscap, and one of the gentleman's thugs.
Sounds right to me.
And you have about 6 hours until the next shift change when you can safely bring these people back up without the Mosscap stationed outside the tower noticing.
Right.
This is a common trope, the idea of the shift change. I feel like in real life it wouldn't work. Like I would feel like in real life you wouldn't be like, oh, guard this door, except for the 1 minute when the shift change is happening. Then it's okay to leave it unguarded. Like, wouldn't you leave the guys outside the door until the relief shows up?
Yeah, no, that's absolutely what you do in the military.
So for that 1 minute,
there's more. No one here is pretending the moss caps are particularly disciplined or.
some of them are, but these guys aren't.
It's actually in the regulations for the Moss Caps, so that's how they do it. They're just not.
It says you got to leave the door unguarded for 1 minute. Like I'm not. Boss signs my checks. What can I do?
Lawful good is the worst alignment.
Boss gets a gold, I get a silver.
Lawful good's my favorite alignment. I played so many lawful good characters over the years.
Gonna be like the biggest, dumbest, most lawful, goodest person I could be at some point. You're gonna hate me.
Oh, I've had my share of lawful good players that I've hated over the years. Two alignments, the two worst alignments in D&D in terms of assholes who play them, are lawful good for exactly that reason. And what's chaotic neutral? He got it. That's the other one. I'm just gonna do every stupid thing that pops into my head because I don't like rules.
Listen, I have made a very dedicated, like, I specifically have chosen not to play chaotic characters because Birdie was me playing a neutral character. I just want to point that out.
Here's my challenge to any of you if we ever play another Planescape game. I would like somebody to actually sit down and put in the work and develop the spreadsheets and things that would be necessary to play a truly chaotic neutral character, where every single action is randomly determined. That's what I want to see that character get played. Like in combat, you might attack the enemy. I don't know, there's 8 guys on the field. Let's roll to see who I hit with my sword. I have a fish. Maybe I'll hit him with my fish instead.
You just have like a program on the side, maybe like program something, and then you just hit a button, and you like it goes. It just like a big old wheel appears, and you're like, oh, looks like
Pressure luck word. You slap a buzzer. Stop on your action.
I've just never seen a chaotic neutral player character in the middle of combat hit an ally with a fish. Which never once happened. Nobody plays that alignment properly.
They'd have to be like a chaos. They'd have to be a chaos magic sorcerer too.
I think I've hit an ally with a fish. I just wasn't chaotic neutral.
I know you've hit an ally with a water skin.
That whole Planescape campaign that we ran, the NPC that I had the most trouble actually playing was definitely Factal Quran for that exact reason. The human brain just doesn't think in pure randomness like that. You can't get into that headspace. Genocidal murderers and shit I can do just fine. Pure randomness.
I love that picture, that mental image of Karan putting an arm around Riot and Liberation's shoulder and saying, "Listen, guys, I know these devils are awful, but we're gonna be the best slaves ever. You know that?" Or some shit like that.
Good old Factal Quran. So yeah, you guys had taken a short rest, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so take the benefits of the short rest. You got 6 hours before you guys to be back.
I know you popped us back over here. Can we see the other map real quick though, just to make sure there wasn't something we wanted to check?
I don't
if you want.
think there was.
I don't think there was either, but I just, on me.
Oh god, how am I gonna roll my hit die?
You can't.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm going to keep changing
Never.
maps. I'm going to run to the fridge real quick while you give this map a glance over. When we actually pick it up, though, you're going to be back in the entrance room because that's where you were with the NPCs before we left.
Yep, I think we're good.
Yeah, you said that was absolutely a dead end, right?
Yeah. Do we want? What are we gonna do? What is this guy? The third guy that's not human?
It's Sarah.
He's Gitzerai.
Gets to right. Are we? He wants to come with us. Are we gonna let him?
He's a GIF?
Gitzerai.
I thought he was gonna hang out and keep these guys from killing each other.
Beating each other up, yeah.
Oh,
I don't think he wants to. He might come with us to the boat after we're done.
He doesn't want to leave the sewer. He wants to stay and come with us while we. And he has declared a debt.
He's welcome to come with us after he does, after he gets these two out. Sure, I don't care.
Okay.
The other Planescape faction have always had problems role-playing is the goddamn Sign of One, because those guys are
Yeah.
assholes. Alright, so we're done with this map. We don't need this anymore.
You're right.
Alright.
So Treble was reminding us that our Gazeri friend said that after he gets these two out of here, he wanted to stay in the sewers with us. Is that how you remember it, Brick?
So what has happened is... Seeker, make an insight check.
Okay.
Does Seeker know anything about Githzerai? Have you ever met one before?
I probably more know about them than have met one personally. That is a 17.
Gus saved this Githzerai's life.
Uh-huh.
And something is strange about this Gith. You've never met one. You may have seen one or two walking the streets of Dunfoss. Very, very uncommonly. But what you know about them is they're like a martial order. They're predominantly monks. They meditate. They interpret dreams. This one doesn't conform to what you know about Githzerai. However, Gus saved his life, and he seems to buy into this idea of a life debt. Until he repays that debt, essentially his life belongs to Gus specifically.
That seems unfair, because I remember that being a team effort, but...
Well, Gus was the one who actually released him from his bonds.
Gus, can you do me a favor and ask our friend here what he can actually do? If he's staying behind, I want to know what he's capable of.
Sure.
He tells you that, to his great shame, it seems that his sword has been misplaced. He doesn't know if it's still here in the sewers. He doesn't know if it's been taken by the men who kidnapped him and placed him down here. So before he can properly undertake this responsibility, this life debt, he is going to have to make a pilgrimage back to the monastery where he was trained to have a new blade forged.
Can you tell us what it looks like, just in case we happen to find it?
And he describes something similar to a claymore, except where a claymore, big two-handed weapon, unwieldy to use, the kind of thing Gus would probably really enjoy. But he describes it as being curved in one direction, almost like a farmer's scythe.
Okay.
Okay.
That seems very specific, so yeah, we'll keep an eye out.
And Gus, even your martial training with weapons, you've never seen a sword of this description before.
Okay. A little bit sword, a little bit axe, maybe hammer. No.
The way he's describing it, it sounds more like a sickle on the end.
Yeah.
But he's describing the size and weight of it like a claymore.
Okay. I mean, obviously we'll keep an eye out for it.
If it's not possible to find it, once he's free of this place, he's going to make this pilgrimage back to his monastery to have another one forged, at which point he will present himself to you in order to take on the responsibility and fulfill his purpose in this lifetime.
Is he against using any other weapons in the meantime?
Is that what you have need of?
Well, I mean, just like, I was just gonna, like, that was just more like an academic question, honestly.
Well, that's what he says. If you ask him that, he responds with a question. Is that what you are in need of at the moment? Do you need me to use another weapon?
We're just trying to figure out your capabilities.
So, the way he describes his capabilities, I can answer that very, very quickly. He is a Kensei monk.
Uh-huh.
He's a monk that is proficient in various types of weaponry.
Okay.
Very specific weaponry. Okay. The other question Seeker would ask during the short rest is, what sorts of things does he know about, in case we have a question?
What sorts of things does he know about?
Yeah, so Seeker will always ask someone, hey, like, are you an expert in something?
He tells you that, in his experience, both in this world and the world beyond, the more you learn about a topic, the more you understand you know little about that topic.
All right, I'm writing you down as philosopher.
How does he feel on longswords and taking them from orcs?
Good time.
His response to this question is very, I'm not going to say troubling, but it's very curious, because he tells you that in his travels, he has never had cause for conflict with orcs. The reason this is curious is because orcs in this part of the world they've been pushed north long time ago. Down here in the civilized lands of humans and demi-humans, you don't see many orcs, and the ones that are here are up to no good, and they are hunted by parties of adventurers and knights and things. If he's traveling these lands and not having conflict with orcs, something is very strange going on.
Uh-huh. Okay.
That's like saying,
I guess
hey,
I'd
we met
ask
a
him-
small child and didn't kill him immediately.
If there was another type of weapon he could use in the interim, not necessarily for like the immediate time, but before he makes this journey, I might want to make him one to head back to his monastery if there's something very specific other than
Nodal!
that he needs.
Yeah.
How many weapons can the Kensei pick at level 1?
At level 1, you get a ranged and a melee, I believe. Oh wait, at level 1 you get nothing. You get simple weapons. You only get Kensei weapons at level 3.
Well, that's what I meant, your first Kensei level.
Yeah, I think it's one ranged and one melee, I believe.
In that case, no, he's not proficient in any other melee weapons, just the simple weapons of standard monks. What would be... I have not given any thought to what his ranged weapon would be. Something thrown, probably.
So, mechanical question then. Like, if you're picking... Would you allow somebody to pick, like, a dagger? Because you can use that as a melee weapon. Would they have their bonuses if they're... Well, I mean, the simple weapon is just a... I think the dagger is on...
I don't care much about the answer to this question. It's just not that important.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, if you give this guy a weapon to try to defend himself on his travels, he will endeavor to use it, but he's not proficient with it yet.
Right.
All right. So have we completely explored everything to the east of this map through these exits?
Uh-huh.
All right. So should we head up to the north and cross one of these bridges?
I
Sounds
think
good
we
to me.
should try the judge again, and maybe because he seems. I put some thought into it, like, you know, this. He seems to be. If we potentially explain the threat that these people have made attacks on the city, he might give us information. Although he might attack and try to kill us. So that's like.
Well, then you're in front if we do that.
So this time knock, is what you're saying.
Yes, this time we're gonna knock.
So we're going up to the judge's quarters. Go ahead and arrange yourselves outside this door.
I don't know where I am.
Yeah, we're over here. Okay.
Oh, okay, gotcha. You gonna... I guess since this is my idea, I get to talk to him?
I'm gonna stand right next with you, dude.
I get the feeling Lucius is mad at Gus.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Is it because of the child murder?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
I didn't
So-
murder the child.
Just to be clear, Gus's moral compass. Innocent woman going to prison for political reasons, fine. Child dying because a monster is inhabiting it, not fine.
Gus's moral compass or Lucius?
Lucius's.
Yeah.
I am glad we understand each other.
Gus's moral compass just always points to the beer.
Well, I was gonna say, I think that's drunk Gus's moral compass. Regular Gus's moral compass is pointing towards the magnet that Seeker's holding. I spin that shit right around.
Gus. So Florian and Alex are way back here, yes?
Yeah.
So when the imps come from behind, you're the ones... Okay.
We're keeping lookout.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly... Okay. I'm going to very politely knock.
Okay. And you hear the stern voice from inside. Enter and state your business clearly.
Gus is going to open the door and bow.
Old
Say,
man's ass.
God damn it.
So, he's not facing the door. He's facing away from you. His clothes have been laundered and dried and are folded up on top of his... he's got this straw mat of a bed. He's exercising, by which I mean he has some sort of rod or pole suspended in midair. And he's holding onto it with one arm doing pull-ups. With his just naked back and ass and legs facing you.
That's hot.
I highly doubt it is. Sir, we spoke earlier, and I do apologize for our intrusion then, but we were wondering if you had some additional information about the other people, the flying pig that were here in your sewers, and like they have attacked the city several times, and we are trying to hunt them down and bring them to justice. You
misspoke, or you lied, one of the two. You told me when you were here before that you spoke to me earlier. But what I heard was not speech. What I heard was gibberish. The correct term would be that you gibbered earlier. Are we clear on that? As
yes,
he's
sir.
Continuing to do one-arm pull-ups.
I understand, sir.
Then he says, you may proceed. And then you tell him about the flying pig.
Yeah.
And all that.
I basically explain that they have tried to blow up the city. They have sent various undead abominations into the streets. They have been tempting various citizenry with demonic deals.
And he cuts you off and says, threats to Dunfoss will be dealt with by the acolytes and the priests of the Lord God Rao. These things are of no concern to me any longer. And he stops doing pull-ups, and he snaps up a towel, a piece of cloth laying on his bed, and starts wiping the sweat off of his ancient, glistening body.
Okay. Well, I'll note that undead do not sweat.
There's a little thing up here in the corner of the screen. Gus will remember that. And he begins to dress himself.
Well, since they have interacted with you, we figured you might be able to give us some kind of information that would lead to bringing them to justice.
Interacted with me? You mean they failed to acknowledge they were gibbering? At this point, he turns around, now that he's dressed, and he's wearing very simple clothes that look very much like prisoner's rags. No adornments, no color at all, just simple breeches and tunic, 2 pieces and no more. But when he turns and looks to the door and sees Gus and Seeker standing there, his eyes snap up. Ah, the Seeker in the dark. I was wondering when you would pay my visit. Enter, we have much to discuss. And at this, he turns and sits on his bed. He beckons to the other side of the room where he's just got a simple writing table, very neat and organized, everything in its place, with a simple wooden chair next to it.
And Seeker walks in and says, "Did you get my note?"
Lucius cocks his head. Hey, starts walking in.
He says he did. That he received your gift. And a gift given, but not reciprocated. That would be a sin. So I offer you my gratitude, and I would ask, what will you have of me?
If you could aid us in bringing these miscreants in your sewers to justice, that would be a great boon.
Make an insight check, Seeker.
You got it.
Oh, so now Alex and Florian are approaching. So much for keeping lookout.
Well, he asked us to. I'm not sure if he asked all of us to come in or just the 2 of them he was talking to come in. That's why I haven't.
He wasn't even talking to the 2 of them. He was addressing Seeker individually.
Oh, in that case, Alex is just going to stay back here.
He's been nothing but
yeah. I mean, that was kind of what I thought it might mean, but yeah, no, I'll totally look out. Is fine with me.
That was a 12 insight.
12. His face betrays nothing. You don't get any from him except the literal answers, the literal words that he says.
Mm-hmm.
He tells you that the days when he can bring justice to the streets of Dunfost are long since past. This is a torch that he has handed off.
Care to introduce us to your friend, Seeker?
Maybe in a bit. So...
The man at Lucius is, well, let's just call it what it is. Incredibly rude interruption.
I mean, right?
The man kind of puffs out his chest a little bit and sits up a little straighter. It says, if this is going to be a continuing play on my time, I will make your acquaintance, sir. He's addressing Lucius now.
Lucius Udoc.
He says, I have the honor and the duty of being Judge Bradthorpe. None of the five of you are born and bred from Dunfoss. We've established that. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lucius bows courtly and says,
Lucius.
"Pleasure to make your acquaintance."
I'll let one of you make a history check at disadvantage.
I think that's...
My history check is...
I got a plus
I got a
5.
plus 5. I've got a plus 5 to it as well.
Who wants to roll it?
I'll roll it. I love rolling things at disadvantage.
Okay.
Go for it, Nodal. Get it. Get at it.
The lower number is mine. I give you all credit for the higher number.
My 13.
That's a 16.
16. The name Judge Bradthorpe, to Seeker's ears, would, sight unseen, kind of be like hearing the name Lord Nelson. Like a historical figure that everybody kind of knows a little bit about, but there's a lot of myth and rumors surrounding what the man actually did. There's no dispute he actually lived, but like everybody kind of knows a little bit about him, but nobody's made a Broadway musical about him yet. Here's what you know about Judge Bradthorpe with a 16. He was alive in Dunfoss hundreds of years ago. At the time, you can't even recall the name of the king he served or which court was in power at the time. But he's associated with wanting to set up a strong judiciary in Dunfoss whose job was to determine the guilt or non-guilt. Innocence would be the wrong word for a man like Bradthorpe. Of criminals in Dunfoss. Instead of the justice system today, which is just which side has the most money, he actually wanted to set up something similar to what we would consider to be a modern judiciary system. This collapsed immediately after his death, and that's about the extent of it. Other than that, you know he was a talented practitioner, as in cleric class levels, of Rao, the god of justice. Also, he's here in this room and not as dead as has been rumored.
Rumors of his death have greatly exaggerated, apparently.
As Gus observed, the dead do not sweat. And Bradthorpe looks to the door. Says, and you, I would make your acquaintance as well.
And I will bow and say I am Gustavus Heartborn. I am the...
a man who has to spend this much time thinking about his accolades has none.
As you say, and I'll bow
Harsh
again.
but fair.
This is then the other two outside. You might as well bring them forth as well. If we are not to have a conversation until every man feels he's had his equal say, to put his name on the table as though his name alone carried weight, then I would hear them all.
Yeah, sure.
Lucius leans out the door and gestures for the two to come up.
Where's Scrappy right now?
Scrappy is now on watch.
Okay. That is the correct answer. And how do Florian and Alex introduce themselves?
Alexander Flintraker.
I will let you call me Florian.
I have your permission then.
Yes.
The implication is I need your permission.
Yes.
He seems very offended just at the idea of this. He says, if I held your face under the contents of my chamber pot, would I then call you the Great Twitching Dunce?
Stone Florian.
You may call me that if you so choose, but 'tis not what I refer to myself as.
Florian, make an insight check.
Oh, that's actually not bad. 16.
You learn two things that you kind of understand intuitively before you even make that statement. And as the statement comes out of your mouth, these two things solidify. If you know nothing else about Judge Bradthorpe, you know these two things. Number one, he likes you out of the 5 people in this room the least by far. Not a question.
Yeah.
And number 2, that is an extraordinarily dangerous position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And
He turns back to Seeker.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Will, Alexander, and Gus, and Master Udok, and the Great Twitching Dunce remain silent while we continue our conversation.
Lucius bows, steps back against the wall.
Alex tips his hat and leans back against the wall, lights a cigarette.
Florian shrugs.
Well, he was asking Seeker, not you guys.
And Seeker says, unless they feel that they have something important to add.
The judge says he can scarcely imagine how that could be the case. Nodal, why is this guy talking to you and not them?
Why is this guy talking? Because I sent him a message through a bakery.
Just making sure that everybody was on the same page there.
Yeah, through a praline.
Through a praline, yeah.
Like,
And he's very thankful because pralines are very good.
They're delicious.
Seeker says, since Rao has brought us to speak with you in person, I was just hoping that even if your time on the streets is given up at the moment, that you could help us in some small way.
He interrupts
deal
you.
with-
He says, I would hear from your lips the 47th edict of the teachings of Rao.
I don't know it. What is it?
You are not an acolyte of Rao, are you?
No.
Then Rao did not bring you here.
All right, fair enough.
Continue.
Yep. And Seagull say, I was hoping you could give us something in order to aid us dealing with the cult, at least with regards to within this sewer. And here's how Seeker's playing this.
Yeah.
Seeker's thought is, it is going to be absolutely impossible to tell this guy I want something and have him actually give it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So Seeker's banking on, okay, we'll tell him how he could help us and just hope he's generous.
Make an insight check.
Okay.
Is anybody in the room trained in religion?
No.
No.
Lucius is.
Lucius, you may also make an insight check. You can make it at advantage.
Mine was only a 10.
14.
Lucius, you know a little bit about Rao just because he's such a major god in Dunfoss. There's a large temple here that's not even in the temple district. It's in the Whiteheart district where the courts and such are. Where the prisons are, I should say. As Seeker's having a conversation with this man, it becomes clear to you that he's doing penance. He's being punished for something. So when the man starts to explain that he's not able to help, he doesn't mean I'm able to help and I choose not to because you all are so far beneath me. Something in his religious tenet is barring him from offering direct help. It's not that he's unconcerned about what's going on with the fiends and the flying pig. It's that in aiding you, he would be breaking the terms of his own religious faith, and he is lawful to a fault. I'll leave it up to you how, in what words you'd like to explain that to Seeker.
Lucius would suggest then that if it's a matter of your faith, that you see yourself as yourself paying penance, then would it not help to commute your sentence in order to aid us in protecting this city?
I see myself as serving penance. A curious phrase. I could no more see myself as serving a penance as I could see myself as a rabbit. And right now, Florian is picturing this guy with bunny ears, isn't he?
I'm actually trying to figure out just how bored Florian is.
Less bored now that he's picturing him with bunny ears.
Yeah. But he's also trying not to just leave.
He kind of talks to himself for a moment. He can so much time have passed that the citizens of Dunfoss today no longer know my name?
How?
The rest of you've never heard. I mean, you maybe have heard the name now and then, but only it was only Seeker knows a little more of the story.
And Seeker will say, we've heard of your name, but unfortunately, not much more is known of it.
He says he served Dunfoss and the king. And he names the king. It's a name of a king that you guys haven't heard before. It's like trying to name one of the U.S. presidents that served in, like, one of those years that didn't matter hundreds of years ago.
James Polk.
I wasn't looking for examples. But okay, sure. He served under King James Polk.
I mean, Polk was one of the most successful presidents of all time.
Oh, we're talking about this now. Okay. He tells you a little bit about the story of how he was trying to build a solid judiciary, and he had the backing of the king, but the king died and was replaced by a fool from the court of the arts, who dismantled all that he had worked for. That on his deathbed, he prayed to Rao and asked that he be judged harshly for any injustice that he had meted out over the course of his tenure as a judge in Dunfoss. And Rao sentenced him to serve an amount of time equal to the unjust sentences he had passed out, which were very few, but were numerous enough that even 100, 200, 300 years later, however long it's been, he's still here. And he tells you that a proper prisoner must be of no use or value. This is one of the distinguishing characteristics of a prisoner. And yet, you've given me a gift, and your flying pig is known to me.
So if you aren't able to give us anything at all, then you wouldn't be at neutral use, you'd be at negative use. I can't imagine that a prisoner is supposed to be that either.
The Seeker in the Dark, I name you friend, but I caution you against the practice of twisting words and meaning in my presence.
And Seeker will nod, and then ask, and how do you see it?
I will not raise sword nor prepare spell to aid you in your quests, but all of my knowledge I can share with you. Is this agreeable?
And Seeker will nod.
says, your flying pig is known to me by the name of Aednoth. I assume this to be a joke, a humor on his part, for House Aednoth was one of the houses of nobility that I brought to an end during my tenure as judge. He describes that they made a lot of money by promising ill, sick people in Dunfoss they could cure their afflictions by ritualistically casting the patient's illness into a pig, then slaughtering the pig. And their house sigil was a winged pig. During his time, Bradthorpe rooted them out, sentenced them all, some of them to the dungeons, some to death, some to exile, and the house, their lands and holdings were divvied up and granted to the people, well, the nobility that they had harmed with those practices. He tells you that Aednoth is certainly not this creature's... He wouldn't use the word creature, he would use the word entity. Certainly not this entity's true and given name, but it is the name that he knows.
How did the name come to you?
He relates the time that the cultists came to his door. They came in, they thought to overpower him. He taught them better very quickly. Slaughtered several of them. Said the coins that they had I put into my chamber pot and sent up the dumbwaiter. Says their cloaks and blades I still have, should you have need of them. But they had he describes 2 blocks of the orange sealing wax. He knows a ritual to use the wax. The same thing that Alexander figured out, how to kind of back route using the wax to connect back to its source. But he did it using a ritual, a holy ritual of Rao instead. So one of these was consumed over the course of several commiserations with Aednoth, who even after it became clear that Bradthorpe was not going to join his cause, still found the man intriguing. The other block he still has and is not yet used. And he says he will answer any questions that he can about this entity.
What do you know about their actions in the rest of the sewer?
He tells you that he's concluded that Aednoth has a material presence in Dunfoss, and he asks if you know what he means by that.
I'm not sure if I do, so I'd prefer if you'd explain.
He explains then the nature of fiends, how fiends are born in the realms of evil gods, and how even when they travel to this world, they still have some kind of connection to the world they left behind. That if you kill a fiend here, it will simply be reborn back at its place of origin. So by material presence, he means this fiend has constructed a body for itself and is physically living inside of Dunfoss. He says this would be very difficult to do in a city like Dunfoss if he was using disguise, magic, or trickery to conceal his true form. Because the true forms of fiends are monstrous. And he describes some of the worst of them. You can picture bone devils, ice devils, pit fiends, that kind of thing. So a fiend in its true form would be noticed immediately, and even the strongest of them he doesn't think would be a match for the full might and force of the King of Dunfoss and his military. If he was using magic to conceal his identity, if he was using illusion, or if he had transformed, Dunfoss has many practitioners of magic that would be able to root them out. It would be difficult for a fiend to live very long using that kind of concealment inside the city. And that only leaves disguise. And there are very talented practitioners of the art of disguise, but it's difficult to conceal a barbed tail, or great bat wings, or the stink of the grave following one around.
So, what did he just say, Brick? Did he just say that he thinks then that this person Is he saying that he thinks they're not in the city, or is he saying he thinks that they some sort of body that, for whatever reason, doesn't count as actually having been transformed?
Here's his conclusion. Aidnoth is definitely in the city. He's not very concerned about what Aidnoth is trying to do, and any attempts to steer the conversation in that direction, he steers you back. Okay. He thinks Aidnoth is in the city in his original material form.
Okay.
But he's not using disguise, magic, or trickery to conceal himself. The way he would do this is to find some mortal entity, some kind of mortal creature that resembles his natural form and play himself off as that. The people of Dunfoss are very used to seeing humans and gnomes and dwarves, even firbolgs and the odd Goliath and an elf now and then. So it would have to be some kind of intelligent speaking creature that resembles some kind of fiend that could pass as one without resorting to magic, disguise, or trickery.
Lucius shirks back against the wall, looks at his hand, and then says, "Wait a minute. I think it's Journey?"
And, well, Braddorf clarifies and asks if Journey is one of your blood.
Lucius nods.
He says that Tieflings are, even in his time, uncommon but not unknown in Dunfoss. So you can only imagine a few hundred years on, the people of Dunfoss wouldn't be able to tell a Tiefling from an actual devil.
Was she mutilated? Was her tail taken off at a young age from Kiska?
No. She escaped. Several of her sisters had that happen.
So you think it must be some more uncommon creature that, if anyone maybe only heard of it, would expect it to look different?
He says that there are hundreds of speaking races across Tet Luteus, perhaps thousands, in all shapes and all sizes.
Right.
Not all of them are found in the books of Dunfossan sages, yet they do pass our streets from time to time.
And Seeker will nod at that. Alright, that makes sense. Is there anything else that you know about this creature's doings in the city?
He gives you a course of action. Well, what he would do in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Is first he would identify the creature without letting Aidnoth know that you've identified him. And he's using him in a very general sense here. He's not certain whether Aidnoth is a male or female, or something in between, or something neither.
Sure.
But once you've identified them, you would find a person in Dunfoss, if you can, who is very learned in dealing with fiends. Learn all you can about the kind of fiend, for once you know the thing's material presence, you will know the fiend that it is. It would have to be something that physically resembles it. Then you have enough knowledge to find its weakness. Only then would I put together a counterattack.
That makes sense. Thank you for your advice.
He makes a gift to you of the block of sealing wax that he hasn't used.
Okay.
It's actually not a gift. He says he gives it to you in the hopes that you use it to bring roused justice to this Aidnoth.
And Seeker will nod and say, "We'll do our best to do so."
This, our scales are again balanced, and we owe each other nothing. It was not an unpleasurable experience meeting you all.
Always fascinating to meet a figure of historical significance.
Alex will just nod.
Gus is watching Florian to snatch him out of the room before he says something. Or to snatch him out of the room to keep the judge from killing him when he says something, more specifically.
Seeker's looking around the room. Is there any sight of, like, So he got sent to Prelude, clearly. Is there anything else that looks kind of like out of place, like it got sent from above?
Not particularly, no. Looking around the room, you do see he does have a simple bookshelf with a small collection of books, and you can see one side of the bookshelf is a slat door on the wall tucked back in the corner that you presume to be the dumbwaiter.
What kind of books are on the bookshelf?
And do you ask him or do you go investigate?
I'll ask him as I walk over towards the bookshelf.
They're books of laws and maps compiled by himself during his long life.
Compiled solely by you? None by anyone else?
He says in his time in Dunfoss, the man did not live that was his equal.
Sequel or not?
And all of you have this intuitive understanding that the laws that he put in, everything this man worked for, none of it exists in Dunfoss anymore. This is all this is some real Ozymandias desolation stretches far away kind of stuff.
Yeah, but everyone knows Ozymandias' name. Alright. Yeah, let's make our way out.
So, did everybody mark down the clues that Bradthorpe gave you? How to find Aednoth.
Just to recap, everybody else, what I heard, he goes by the name Aednoth, which is the name of a house that was destroyed by the judge.
Mm-hmm.
He is in the city. He is not transformed, nor is using illusions to hide himself. So that means that he is some form of creature that can reasonably pass. He could say that he's something else.
Yeah.
And yeah.
The other thing that I got is that he's more in tune with the history of Dunfoss than we are, because he knew enough to call himself Aednoth.
So here's the facts that you guys can use. This is all the help you're going to get. This is the end of the clues. Aednoth is a fiend.
Mm-hmm.
Aednoth is not transformed. He's not disguised. He's not using illusion magic. The kind of fiend that Aednoth is looks like some other speaking creature, to the point that somebody who is not familiar with those creatures, he could pass as one. The books that you need to solve the mystery are the Monster Manual and Volo's Guide to Monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Once you think you know what Aednoth is, we can proceed from there.
Okay. Do we need to go to the... Do you guys want to poke our head into the... Since we've still got a few hours before,
Oh, we definitely still want to go to the north for sure.
Right,
Yeah.
And just as a seeker has like a research token, right?
I have
That's
8
how that-
research tokens.
Oh, okay. We're probably going to be using those.
But
I
they're
think.
good, to be clear, they're good for very specific questions.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so what's next?
Head north.
Where are we going north? Just crossing the bridge outside of Bradthorpe's room?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gustavus, do I make you nervous?
I fear for your life sometimes.
I'm not afraid of any judge who does not understand the power of names, for he who would so foolishly share his so freely and refuse to use the very helpful one that I gave him. No,
I fear
would
for
not-
your life
I would not.
a lot.
I would not be concerned with such trivialities.
It's
What do
my
you call
job.
yourself, Florian?
I do observe, though, that Florian didn't say that to Bradthorpe's face. He waited
wonder
until he
why.
was gone.
Well, he would have had an equal chance of saying it to his naked butt.
That's
So-
true.
Florian
curious.
was much more concerned about his allies than himself in that situation.
That's a real power play when you go to talk to a guy and he's just naked doing pull-ups.
Seer was looking at a room, figuring out what kind of gift to give him next time we need him in our gratitude.
The praline seemed to work really well.
Praline worked real well. Doesn't seem very interested in books.
What was Lucius saying?
I wonder what why his take on prisoners being required to have no value kind of strikes me as weird, because why would one keep a prisoner anyway if that's the case?
To serve a sentence.
But okay.
Do you want to go back and ask him?
No, I don't. Well, actually, I do, but
It prevents the
Don't
kingdom
have the
from
time.
exploiting their prisoners. 'Cause
Yeah.
look, if prisoners had value, you could trade against them, you could use them as slave labor. It makes sure that it stays, pure to the idea of it being a punishment rather than something that the kingdom can exploit.
Yeah, for example, if the
Except for the
Blackjackets,
truck.
the Blackjackets had a prisoner that they wanted to use to go down and investigate a sewer off the books. So crossing the
I'm going to
bridge,
send Scrappy into this next room alongside Gus.
I've kind of gone ahead and erased the whole length of the river because you guys have been up and down the southern edge of this river. So you can kind of see some of the areas. When you come over, you're met with 2 of these iron cages, similar to the other ones you came across, including the 2 holes in the floor that they fit on. Both of these have had the doors wrenched off of them. So you have an upper ledge here where the 2 cages are standing. So you come across the bridge, you actually have the upper ledge off to your left, about 10 feet high.
Lucius, if we had the time, would absolutely be all for asking him that question.
Coming around
I
the
think
corner, there's a doorway off to your right here, on the other side of which is a 4-way intersection.
I'm gonna put up detect magic again.
Okay.
Alex is going to climb up this stairway.
Gus,
Look up here.
Yes.
what is your passive perception?
Not
10.
great. 11.
11?
Uh-huh.
Looking this direction, you see it opens into a larger chamber.
Uh-huh.
This path goes down the middle here to a couple of wooden doors on the left and right. This path goes to a wooden door at the end of a short hallway.
But Scrappy's passive protection is 15.
Passive protection?
Yep.
Did you mean perception?
Yes.
Okay.
Perception from stuff.
From stuff.
Gus,
Wow.
or Gus / Bickard / everyone. Gus, anytime you look like you're about to go around a corner and I'm not going to be able to see where you're about to step to, I'm going to send you a message to tell you to wait for a second. Because I want to be able to see the floor before you step onto it.
Yeah, that's fine. I wasn't going to go any further than this anyway.
So that's what you guys get for now.
Is there an actual door over here that we can see, or
Yes.
Yeah.
Secret.
There's a door here, there's a door
Seeker.
here, and there's a door here.
Come here.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to reach out and pick Seeker and then up and then just use him as like a detector.
No, Seeker slaps your head and jumps back down. I'm absolutely not standing on top of you.
No, I was just holding you like a small child.
No, absolutely not. You are going in front where the danger is. I'm
What's-
staying back here where the danger is not.
What's the point of having a gnome in the party?
Alex,
if you
how
can't
many
pick-
times has that actually... I'm sorry, Seeker, how many times has that actually worked out? I'll send Scrappy
Every
over
time I've died, it's been because I was trying to help someone. No more.
here. Yeah, but also every
It's
time you've
also-
died, it's because you've been in the front.
Scrappy.
It's also very degrading to pick up a friend of yours and wave him around like he's a flashlight.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
not
that
that
part,
degrading.
that part I don't care about.
Not for a gnome. That's your
That
that's
is not the part that Seeker was offended by.
that's your human privilege speaking. Gnomes are just like, yeah, this is happening now. Everybody knows a gnome player who enthusiastically wanted to ride in a backpack on another player. Scrappy, looking into this room. There's a wooden door to the north. Okay. There's stairs leading down to the next chamber. Looking off to the left, you see this wooden table here. And there's odds and ends on it. It looks like the remnants of a meal very recently eaten. No cutlery, no plates, but crumbs and rinds, things of this nature. In the corner of the room is a brazier, and you do see a trail of smoke swirling about the ceiling above to indicate that the brazier very recently was lit. And with that, I have to step away for 2 seconds and deal with my dog. So I'm going to put Elizabeth on screen for 5 minutes. I'll be back as soon as she has vacated her bowels.
I'm going to ask him if anything, any dark vision, how that direction gets me anything.
Am I the only one going through Volo's on the monster manual?
Yes.
I was looking at Volo's and I wasn't sure what I was looking for in there.
I think he's a kobold, guys.
Kobolds look like dragons.
Do we know any kobolds?
No, we don't. My husband took my monster manual, so it's in his work room right now. And I have to go get it if I want to get the monster manual. Like what Brickard has said to me, like it screams possibly Camion, but I could be wrong.
Shadow Mastiff. It's a Shadow Mastiff.
You don't think he would use the fox dude again? I forget the that's a fiend, right?
Arcana Loss, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Arcana Loss might be.
He has explained in the past that he loves Arcana Loss, so I would not put that past him. But that's kind of getting metagamey there.
I mean, that's where my mind immediately went when he like humanoid-ish looking fiends, because the rest of the like Loths are pretty monstrous, if I recall.
Yeah, I thought of Arcana Loth too, but
aren't they still pretty bug-headed?
Arcana Loths, they look like
jackal-headed.
Yeah, they look like
men.
They look like jackals, and I feel like that would something like that would stand out though.
There's those fiends that look like orcs.
There are. Like the problem with like using a monster manual to look up fiends is that they're not under fiend. Or are they? Are they under devil?
Looking at devils, demons, and Yugoloths in that case.
Cambion is a good shout though.
I thought
that's why I'm thinking
we were pretty solidly on the demon side of this one.
We were told just now it was a fiend.
Right, but originally, like, oh no, wait, no, he looked like a devil when I cast Dream.
Yeah. I mean, that could be fake. He could have been faking anything with it.
No, I'm just like, yeah.
Let's see, where is fiend?
Well, I mean, fiend. Like I said, fiends are demons, devils, Arcana-Loths, or Yugoloths rather.
When Brick Road says fiend, I think he means fiend.
Fiends, that's exactly what he means. Is demons, devils, and Yugoloths.
I could have swore that like that's how it was split up. I thought Yugoloths were just a type of fiend, and like fiends are the lawful ones.
No, you're thinking devils.
Devils? Okay, so it's probably a devil then. Okay.
I owned my Friday group with a Cambion the other day. It was pretty fun.
Look, is there any chance he's a Barluga? Are there any massive gorillas in the city?
I can't work it out.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like leaning toward Cambion with the clue that they would have to be able to pass for pass for a mortal without magical like assistance. Cambions, if unless you know how to spot the differences.
Is Cambion in the
pretty indistinguishable from Tiefling.
Gambion's in the monster manual, yeah.
Okay.
A chitin could potentially pass as a weird humanoid.
I mean, we have various avenues that we can talk, like people with their noses to the ground, like, hey, have you heard of any strange one-off creatures in the city that might not get back to them? That might help narrow it down, because then we could just it's we saw there's a Pegasus over in the Temple District.
My thought is just it's a Wanti Merilith.
All right, bowels are vacated successfully.
One of the Yontis with snakes for snakes.
No, it's just the Wanti Merilith. Just hiding 4 of the arms. Oh, it's just a Wanti.
So everybody back, or is people still stepped away?
Reading the monster manual.
I think everybody's back.
I think
Yeah,
people, we didn't so much
I'm-
leave as just
I'm
read
here.
things.
Okay, go ahead and get rid of Lizagruth here.